everybody. Welcome to Harmony Group's podcast. It's been a little while. It's been a while. My name is Margie, and this is my
I'm
sister.
Audrey.
We are so glad to be with you today. We have had a little bit of a hiatus. We are both trying to finish up our PhDs and are in the dissertation phase. Lord, please let it keep moving. But because of that, we have been a little bit busy, but we have been missing you guys. When we've been talking, we've said, we got to get on there, record and do another podcast. So we're glad to be here today.
Well, it's funny. We say we've got to record, and then we'll say, what should we talk about? And then we just start talking about our life. And then 25, 30 minutes later, we're like, oh, shoot, we forgot to record. I need to go make dinner. I've got a soccer game to go to. And then life gets in the way. So but we made it. We carved out time, and this time is special because we are not just carving out time from our busy lives. What we're doing is carving out time to intentionally be able to spend time together and share some of the interesting things that we learn along the way. So we've got a real good topic to talk about today, and that is the topic of
connectedness, which that was a beautiful segue, by the way, because that's what we're doing. We are connecting with one another. Yes, connecting, coming together, but not just physically, right? Have you ever heard that phrase? I'm in a room all alone in a room full of people or something, like you feel alone. So it's not just proximity, because clearly I'm in Georgia and she's in the Midwest. But it's coming together mind to mind, enjoying one another, listening to one another, telling stories to one another, and kind of just understanding more of who the other person is. We do that in so many ways. We do that in our homes with people. And it's often ships passing in the night here at our house sometimes, but connecting with our family is important. Connecting with our colleagues, super important. And we get a chance, even in the grocery line, to connect at times. But those moments of connectedness can change who we are. It changes who someone else might be, but they're not always comfortable. And but so necessary. Can you start out with maybe a story or a way of thinking about connectedness that kind of broadens our way of thinking to start us out?
Sure. So connecting with each other. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I love being around people for a specific amount of time, and then I love disconnecting from people. And sometimes it's in the time that I'm disconnected that I end up missing the connections. So we can situate the topic of connectedness on lots of different levels. If we stay focused on how to connect with people in a leadership style, whether it's leading your family, and that doesn't mean necessarily in charge. What it means is just influencing people. So we might be leading our family. We might be leading our exercise group. We might be leading a Bible study or something more formal. We might be in a supervisory role, a principal like you, or in a management or a director position. So if we look at connecting as a form of leadership, I think it's important to also realize that not everybody wants to connect all the time. Mm-hmm. However, silos are dangerous. That's one of my favorite phrases that I heard from a participant in my research study. And since I live in Kansas, it's completely appropriate that somebody would talk about a silo. And so if you think about the Kansas plain, we have lots of wheat fields, just acres and acres and miles between different farms. And when you look out over the field, you might see a silo, but it's not often that you see many, many, many silos and see silos connecting unless it's, a corn processing plant or wackadoo. But it's the connections of people that allow us not to be so isolated. And Margie, it's really important right now. You're discovering this in your research, that in the wake of COVID and in the wake of pandemics and in the current teleworking era of work, it's easy to feel like we are isolated and alone and a silo. And so to move into that connectedness, I think is really important for us as leaders. Margie is the in-house guru of all the cool books and all the cool podcasts. And I don't have to read them and listen to them because I have Margie. So Margie, I know you've done some reading on connectedness, and you mentioned not too long ago, there's 4 R words. Right? And one of them is reconnect. And so that brings us into tying it into something from a different perspective. What was that book and what were those 4 R's?
So that book was, and yes, I am a little geeky about the books. I don't know. I just can't.
Somebody needs to be
get enough. But the book that you're referring to is called From Burnt Out to Fired Up. And the idea there is that we all get to that place where we can no longer function. We're barely making it through the day, but we once maybe had passion about something, and now we're really struggling. Perhaps that's something in your home. Perhaps that's something in your office or your amongst your team. Maybe as dynamics change in your team, you're like, I don't really know my place, and what does this actually look like? And so when you're feeling burnt out, how to kind of rekindle that. And the first one is to reframe it, where you're sort of thinking, okay, well, no, that's not first. First is reflect. Like you think back through, okay, what is actually going on? And then we reframe it. We think about it maybe in a positive way, or we get out that outside support to help think about it differently, and then refocus. What was my passion, and why am I here, and what am I doing, and who is this person to me? Refocus, and then reconnect. And sometimes that is that organic starting over, or a kind of a clean slate, or let's just go to lunch. Let's go on a date. Let's spend some time on a Zoom. I love that COVID brought us Zoom. We've never Zoomed before COVID, even though it was there.
Right.
But it gives us a chance to connect. To do all of those things, though, I do think that it takes a mindset within ourselves to put our own self and our stuff to the side, because it's really easy, I think, at times to not connect because we feel hurt. We feel like someone else doesn't want to connect with us. We feel like so-and-so has been giving us the cold shoulder. Why am I going to go the extra mile here? But to your point, as leaders, that is our job. Our job is to step in. John Maxwell, who's kind of a leadership guru, he has this book called 21. Here we go with the books. 21 Laws of Leadership. And one of them is connection. And he talks about that importance of connecting with the team, seeing them as individuals, not just a team. But he says it's never the follower's responsibility to connect. It's always the leader's responsibility to connect. And so maybe even if you're not in a positional form of leadership, but you want to rise up and kind of guide your team or your family or your cohort, whoever you're with, maybe you think, okay, well, I'm just going to take that on. I'm just going to do what I can to lead the way in terms of connection and to bring people together. Audrey, you're actually really good at this. We went to a conference not too long ago in, where were we? Oh, North Georgia.
Yeah, in Dahlonega.
We were up in Dahlonega and speaking at a conference. And while we were there, it was time for lunch. So we're sitting down eating. I look to my right. Nope, she's not there. She's at like literally walking around the room. By the time she got back, she said, I think I drummed up some people to come to our talk. But it was so cute because she was working the room on that. And what's so interesting is that's one of the things John Maxwell says. He calls it walk slowly through the crowd. That's what he says a leader's job is to do. And he says, like when he goes somewhere to speak, he always goes into the kitchen and walks slowly through the kitchen to say thank you to the people that are working and just to connect. And sometimes we're just moving at a pace. Yes. And that's true about other people too. But I think if we're intentional about focusing and connecting with one another, we can really make a difference in the culture of our workplace, of our organization.
It's true. There is there is something about building social capital. It's a term that's used a lot in some professional settings, but on an informal level, basically building social capital just means building the relationship from a foundation of trust and trusting each other's intentions, because there may come a point when you call on them on a person for help or an assistance. And if you haven't built a level of trust and a level of trusting intentions, when you need that person, they may not be willing to help you out in whichever way it is. So when we look at it in a more professional setting, this building social capital, when we take the time to do what Maxwell said, to walk slowly through the kitchen, we are building social capital with our chefs, with our cooks, with our waiters, and which allows them to trust us as the leader or as a person maybe in a different position. It may be a lateral position. It may not be one of any kind of authority, but one of the side. And by strengthening those connections, who knows what good can come from that? It reminds me of, like, of course, I can't remember which movie it is, but there's always the movies where there's some serendipitous meeting. You know, these two people just happen to run into each other, and maybe on the way to Walmart or something, and person X ends up helping person Z with a flat tire, I don't know, or something on the way. And then the next day, lo and behold, hey, guess what? That person that had the flat tire is now interviewing the other person for a job. And they go, well, of course I want to hire him because he helped me yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's a fantasized, scenario.
Hallmark movie,
right?
plot.
Oh my gosh, totally Hallmark. But that's the kind of scenario on a much smaller scale that I believe connectedness can help us with. Now, if we were to take it down a few notches into some more serious and meaningful connections, I think in today's world with mental health challenges right now that can be caused by the teleworking, by not having those, what some would deem as frivolous water talk conversations or walking slowly through an office, the feelings of anxiety and depression can seep in. And if somebody could go out of their way to reach out to a person who's isolated by choice or by force, whichever one, but to build a connection to them, it might be the difference in a healthier mental state for that day. And I think it should be all of our goals, is to help create a more stable mental experience for our fellow man, fellow woman, fellow person. I don't know. That's one way to look at it. What's another thought you have?
Oh, I love that idea. I think that the idea that we have a collective storage of joy and connection we can build on, we can pull from when we need it, we can contribute to it when we have it. That's the beauty of community, whether that's actual, like you say, the water cooler office type community, or maybe it's your church or a small group or a book club or a bingo group that you go and play in. Bunko.
You got a Bunko group. Hey!
Yes, we just did left, right, center at the end of our Bunko night. Have you ever played that?
I love it.
I won $36.
Yeah, you did.
No, I don't ever win at Bunko. What? I still didn't hear you.
You better claim it on your taxes.
No, girl. I already spent it. I spent
it. So hypothetically,
Yeah, I did. Yeah. No wonder you whispered that so quietly.
I was trying to whisper.
Bunko is a great community, though, whether it, again, a group of people that you can
Yes.
rely on.
Yes.
I think that, yeah, I hate to do it, but there's a book.
Is there a book?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a book? What would it be called?
Ooh, look at this. So transforming community transforming fellowship or transforming communities is the idea behind the book. Dallas Willard. And I'm trying to think of who the other, this one's actually by Kersey, but, the life model idea.
So you're just so cute.
I know.
Cracking me up.
The idea is that we give each other something in community when we connect with each other. Okay, we'll back it up. Babies are born. First thing they see is their mama, right? They see their mama's face, and our brains are so beautifully made that the mom and the baby are able to connect in a way that's unlike anything else. And there is the mirror neurons start to sync, and the baby cries and the mama says, "It's okay." And we start to calm down and we teach that baby how to resolve their emotions. It stays going. Those same mirror neurons. If you and I are together and you're like, "I cannot believe it," I'm like, "Me either."
Right.
We're probably going to be able to figure this out. And if I meet you where you are,
that's right.
And if I'm not in that place, but I meet you where you are, then I can help build that up in you, build some resilience up in you, and build some, some ideas and ways to remember who you are. So I think that connection piece, like you said, that mental health, we are in a rough time.
Yep.
I can tell you from a middle school perspective, just from a human perspective, our pastor preached on it last Sunday, that same idea, how to combat anxiety. And one of the ways is to connect with people. Mm-hmm. And it might be as simple as, hey, you want to go grab a coffee at Starbucks, or it could be come over for dinner, or maybe just the water cooler talk could really help you. But like you said, help someone else and kind of contribute to that collective health of your team.
So let's give a couple actions for our listeners to just try. Mm-hmm. So especially, let's start with people who are real comfortable with connecting with others. Maybe they have more tendencies towards extroversion, something like that. So what could someone who's an extrovert, who usually does connect with people quite a bit, what is a challenge or an action that they could do in the coming days to try to connect further?
Yeah, maybe you think of it in maybe there's one face-to-face connection and encouragement that you do. Maybe then it's one text that you send. Saw what you did today with so-and-so. Great job. What an encouragement to have you on our team. I saw you today. Your work was awesome. Or maybe it's just also, maybe there's something you can do in terms of someone in your past you can encourage, a mentor. Sure. Or some ways to even connect out further. The people we see every day, it's a little easier to connect with, but for someone who's already fairly masterful at it in their everyday, what if it's a letter, maybe a family member that you don't see very often? Ways, again, to reach out a little bit, but a person-to-person text, maybe it's a call. I also, for a while, I was on a person's regular checklist, like every Tuesday or something, I would get a text. And the person said, I have little people that I talk to on particular days. I'm thinking about these people. So I thought about that. Maybe you have your Monday crew and you send out 4 texts on Monday and 4 on Tuesday. Again, they're not hugely deep. They're just, hey, I was thinking about you today. Remember that time we went to whatever. So maybe those are ways to connect. What do you think about for people where it's harder? Or go ahead with what you were going to say. But.
Well, hey, so that's what I was going to say, because you're so smart. So if you know of people who aren't as extroverted and they tend to keep more to themselves, they still need some forms of connection, probably. One possible way is to ask them, I would really like to connect with you sometime this week, but It doesn't need to be long. It can be for a very short amount of time, but you choose which way would you prefer, and then give them some agency in deciding how. That can actually release a lot of anxiety. And especially if you maybe don't have a lot of social capital built up with that person. Another way, and this is going down that mental health check-in one more time. I have a couple little pictures that I've sent to some of my older kids and their significant others that just says, mental health check-in, reply with how you're feeling today. And on it, there's 6 different little emojis, just nothing big, but it kind of gives a scale, a little bit of a Likert scale, a scale of I'm doing great, I'm doing okay, it's fine. I mean, it could be better, but all the way down to I am really struggling today.
Yeah.
And then that's a very limited interaction. And maybe something that can be built from. And if it doesn't need to be built, it's still an interaction. So those are some possible ways to, but I think it just needs to be a topic that we keep coming back to. It's not one to touch and never come back to again. So maybe you and I should put a little note in our phone that we need to make sure we are staying connected to each other and that we keep mentioning it on here.
Yes, I think that's great, because there will be times when you need someone to connect with you and there's not anyone that's reaching out. If you're a leader too, it may not be that people reach out to you. They assume you are getting that connection.
It's lonely at the top.
Yeah, check on your other friends that are leaders, check on your family.
And connect with us.
Connect with
us. We're happy to connect with you.
Yes, please. We get messages every once in a while, but we also love to be with you in person. And so whether we are with you in person or we're connecting this way, please drop us a comment or send us a message and let us know how you're doing and how we can better support you and continue to connect with you. It was great to be back together.
Yes, absolutely. Always a winner chicken dinner.
Yep. All right. Well, friends, have a great rest of your week, rest of your day, and we look forward to connecting again soon.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Take care.